Good morning, everybody, and a happy Wednesday morning to you. You guys, this just gets worse and worse. Let's cover the royals so we can get into it. Let's go. We are starting out with Ella Windsor, who has now been announced. She is the new patron of Restore the Music UK. I think that's wonderful. This is how music can help young people. I'm glad to see her getting out and about. Let's move on to Princess Anne, who met a young man named Harrison Towers, 20 years old, who started his own successful business, and so he was invited to the prestigious Future Generation Forum event at the Guildhall in London. Next up, we have Secret Weapons Sophie, who was with Gettr. That is a UK national medical research charity and patient support organization for people living with a very rare, painful genetic skin condition. Sophie met patients, staff, and healthcare individuals. And before that, on the 19th of March, she, as patron of Race Against Dementia, visited the Edinburgh Neuroscience at the University of Edinburgh to see the studies about synapses loss that occurs in Alzheimer's patients. That's really important research. All right, now we're going to move on to her fabulous husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, Edward. A week ago, he was hosted at the annual Creative Youth Royal Gala Ball in Glenmore. Love that outfit he's wearing. All right, we're going to move on to something that's not quite royal family, but there's something weird going on. You guys remember Virginia Giuffre, the woman that, claims Epstein trafficked her and, Andrew and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she said that a school bus driver driving 70 miles an hour rammed into her car, and she's gone into renal failure, and she claims that she has 4 days to live. I want to say, and I want you to stick with me, I don't think this is real. I'm sorry. There's something about her story that's just stinking to high heaven. I can also say, as a retired ER nurse, I don't know of any physician that looks at a patient and says, you've got exactly 4 days left. It doesn't happen that way. So very weird. Now, the Western Australia Police referred CNN to a report of a, quote, minor collision between a car and a bus near Perth on March 24th, saying that the car had about $2,000 worth of damage and there were no reported injuries as a result of the crash. So there's something else going on here. For all we know, those pictures with the bruises are completely fake. She wouldn't be the first person in the world to do that. I don't believe anything she says, especially after she was proven to be a perjurer. So before people jump on me and go, she was trafficked, this woman has been caught in lie after lie, and it was proven she perjured herself under oath. So I don't believe her. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to King Charles. First, they said that he was going to be canceling his holidays to an African spa and a Romanian hiking spot, and his trip to Italy might be in danger because of his health admission. But then Buckingham Palace came out and said, yeah, he's returning to work as normal, and they're still planning his trip to Italy. So I wish somebody would make up their minds. Moving on. Let's move on now to a project that Prince William has been working on for a while. They are planting 450 new trees to help restore woodland. The volunteers planted the new saplings in a bid to extend the size of the woodland and help it become more resilient to the changes in the climate. These are the first trees to be planted since William's Duchy of Cornwall announced the plans when he visited the area in July of 2023. I love that. All right, let's move on. Before we move on to the big story of today, I want to talk about this article that came out that said that Zara Tindall basically leaned over at Eugenie and Jack's wedding and basically said to Harry, yeah, yours was so much bigger, or something to that effect. It's very quiet compared to the screaming at your wedding. I think that's just a terrible thing that she said. I'm sorry. I usually like Zara. Of course, they're talking about Harry and Meghan's wedding, where the children had to be separated coming back down the aisle because the kids had been bullying Charlotte. We all remember the nasty looks that Meghan gave Charlotte as she passed. Look at the crowds because, the UK is just so racist and they didn't accept her, blah, blah, blah. And what they were basically saying, or what Harry was basically saying, is Eugenie's wedding didn't draw the crowds, wasn't the big spectacle fiasco that their wedding was. I thought Eugenie and Jack's wedding was lovely. And I might add, Eugenie and Jack had their wedding planned and had to push it back because of Harry and Meghan. But other things happened at the wedding. So for those of you who don't know what happened here, Meghan was talking to Zara and Harry interrupted her. And so she basically told him off, and Harry got all fidgety and anxious and slumped over in the chair like a 2-year-old. It's the craziest thing. She rolled her eyes at him. He literally looks like a dog who's just been told to sit, stay. And then, of course, we found out later on she announced her pregnancy. She's looking like the cat that ate the canary. And as she's walking up, as they left the chapel and walked up, what do you think Meghan did? She tried to grab King Charles's arm. And as you can see, King Charles was not having any of it. He's like, nope, don't touch me. All right, let's move on to the current news. All right, this just got me. The GB News morning breakfast show decided to do a special report about Harry and Meghan to mark their 5-year anniversary of Megxit, and it did not go well. Fans were so upset, they clicked off, and people complained to GB News that Harry and Meghan should not be getting any airtime. One person said, please stop including them in royal news. They're not royal. It's annoying. And another thing I wanted to touch on really quick was this article that came out asking if Meghan was actually the spare instead of Harry, because after they got married, you had 19 months of bad headlines where Harry and Meghan attacked, the very institution they were supposed to be working for because they were so unhappy inside of it. The truth is, Meghan wanted out from the minute she married him. So what went on behind the scenes when Meghan married into the family? Well, a new book has come out. Author Tom Quinn spoke to a lot of the servants who worked with them, and it came out this past March, and he said that for everything that has been written about Harry being Meghan's spare, it's very clear that Meghan, who felt like she was Harry's spare because she couldn't find her place, quote unquote, because of her constant clashes with the courtiers who run things behind the scene. They say that Meghan was sidelined and commenting that she too was a spare. What's being reported is that Meghan had a messiah complex. She wanted to finish what Diana started, but only on a part-time basis. And Meghan did not understand that when joining the royal family, you don't do as you please, you do as you're told. Meghan had plans for her life as a working royal, but they were not compatible with the approved program. We know the Queen gave Meghan Sophie and Lady Susan Hussey, and she turned everybody away because she had this I know best attitude, which of course didn't go over well. It was being reported that Meghan became irritated when staff didn't instantly respond to her requests, and she felt that Harry was too deferential to his family and to the staff. All right, this next bit, we're going back to the whole Sentebale thing, and what people are saying is, does his royal brand have any kind of future? You have all of these issues going on. We have the fact that Archwell only works an hour a week. They're running around collecting awards that they're paying for or that they didn't earn. And so people are saying it's toxic. Can they do anything with it? My personal opinion is no. So we know now, because of Sentebale, that Harry said, I want to bring the camera crew, and that's what apparently started all of this. But apparently after that, remember, it was Harry who then said, please put out a statement defending my wife, and this woman said no. So Harry then apparently, it's being alleged, reportedly contacted her directly to complain about her actions, and a source said the message was most unpleasant. The note was bad toned, used imperious language, and it left Sophie Chabuca really taken back. I cannot imagine the nerve of this man to write her a letter demanding she explain herself, because she refused to put out a letter defending Meghan Markle. She said, I won't, not because I don't care about the Duchess, because I knew what would happen if I did. And number two, we can't be an extension of the Sussexes. She said that the trolling would probably be worse if she did. So Harry is accused of harassment, and so he doesn't speak publicly. Instead, he asks one of his friends to speak publicly on his behalf. Personally, I think he's not speaking because he's afraid he'll get sued for defamation if he says anything. Number two, I find it very interesting that his friend spoke to the Daily Mail, the same newspaper that Harry recently sued. He says, and I'm quoting, H is very happy for me to speak for him about how he feels about this awful situation. He is just beyond heartbroken and flabbergasted that the charity he founded has been taken hostage by the chair. It feels tantamount to a hostile takeover. Sounds to me like these two are now doing a smear campaign. This man, if you can believe this, says he believes some of the accusations are because Sophie Chanduka is jealous of Meghan Markle. Haven't we heard those kinds of allegations before? Quite frankly, I'm shocked by some of the stuff in this article. This guy said, after Harry asked that woman to put out the letter, that she should never have let the narrative take hold that Meghan caused an issue. Because if that narrative did take hold, I would argue it's down to the chair to put it right. They could have issued a statement and put a stop to it, but they didn't. Again, the whole thing smells. It feels planned. And I suspect it could only have come from the chair herself. Any chair would have been delighted to have Meghan there. When you have both the Sussexes there, it doubles the reaction. It doubles the power. And yet here she is refusing to get hold of a negative narrative which damages Meghan. It makes you wonder where it came from. And as far as Meghan gate crashing the event, the guy goes, it's Harry's charity polo match. Meghan is his wife. Of course he should have expected her there. No, see, that's the problem. It wasn't Harry's polo match. It was Sentebale's match. Therein lies the difference. Alex Rayner said, it feels like Dr. Chanduka had her nose put out of joint because she was not the most important woman of color on the stage. In losing the polo venue, this guy says, if you're a sponsor, of course you would want the exposure from a Netflix documentary. So this whole story seems simply untrue. You can't say Harry's brand is of no consequence to the charity. It simply doesn't stack up. Yes, he has gone from being the great hope of the British royal family to being seen as a pariah, but he still attracts a lot of exposure. And with a TV crew in tow, what sponsor would not want the global exposure? This sounds like an excuse to cover up an administrative error at the charity. So Harry and Meghan told this guy what to say, and it's not going to go well. Now, if all of this wasn't bad enough, Prince William's close aide, Lane Rawlinson, was just hired as a new trustee of Sentebale. This man served as the chair of William's Tusk Trust from 2002 to 2013, chair of the development board until 2021, and he's been advising Miss Chanduka since the rift with Harry. Now, again, this guy spoke out because Jack Royston, sugar number 2 behind Omid Scobie, went on GB News and said himself, he's got to be careful about saying something publicly if he says anything, because whatever he says about her will come back and they'll throw more allegations at him. Exactly. That's why they had this guy step up and speak instead. In the meantime, Well Child, another charity that Harry is a patron of, is looking for a new trustee. You have to wonder why the other trustee left. Maybe people don't want to be associated with Harry anymore. Now, in the middle of all this, Meghan is still doing the don't look over there, look at me thing. She put up another picture of Instagram, and they made sure that you guys knew that this picture was actually taken on her property, which I still don't believe. But it shows her and her dog, Mia. What I see is her sitting around looking at her phone while the staff run around setting things up, which makes you wonder how she really treats everybody around her. This is supposed to show you her products that are getting ready to launch. And by the way, for those of you who still think she doesn't watch the YouTubers and what they're saying, we all talked about the last time she was walking through the garden with the onions that were pristine clean. So then we come up with this picture, which supposedly is her pulling vegetables right from the ground. Now, there's a lot of talk about her products and how expensive they are. And so, of course, the next thing we have is this statement she put out. Here's what it says. You'll find the raspberry spread that started it all presented in keepsake packaging that you can repurpose to tuck away love notes or special treasures. And to remember this pivotal moment with me, think of it as our time capsule. Oh, and by the way, once you've enjoyed every spoonful of this fruit spread, you may want to do what I do. Rinse the jar and use it as a small bud vase for flowers on your nightstand or to hold pens on your desk. And I hope when you see what I've worked so hard to create, you're encouraged to know that whatever life brings you, you can do it too. Your value, your creativity, your joy. You get it? As ever and forever. Ay. This is how she's justifying the ridiculous price of her spread because it's not jam or jelly. Let's follow up with our last story. Chelsy Davy, Harry's ex-girlfriend, the one that dodged a bullet. Let me tell you something. She is living exactly the kind of life, the Insta-friendly lifestyle Meghan so eagerly wants to show with her Netflix series. She's a successful businesswoman after she ditched her career as a lawyer. She has her own jewelry company, and she's married a millionaire hotelier, Sam Cutmore-Scott, who probably has more money than Harry. If Harry had married Chelsy, she could not have married in secret as she did to her husband, Sam. As a matter of fact, she had children and nobody even knew about it. That's how under the radar she was able to go. And it just shows how different things might have been for Harry had he married her, because the difference between marrying somebody who supports you and marrying somebody who's marrying because they want to up their own profile is a massive difference. In royal life as a couple, they both loved Africa. They were both devoted to the monarchy. They could have done so much good for the Commonwealth. And look what happened because he married the wrong woman. I'm telling you. I'm sure every time he sees a picture of her, he is flooded with regret, because her business is thriving. She's happy in her life. And, it's such a stark contrast to what he's got. But that's his own fault. My goodness, I want your comments on this. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the links to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my Amazon Wish account, a link to my father's book, and a link to my other channel in case you want some recipes and to see what's going on in my personal life, as well as a physical address. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.